Great. Welcome. Well, thanks for joining us. Stay with us for our next session looking at AI and quantum technologies. Can I introduce Samyr to join us? Sorry? The panel, yes. Oh, okay. Sorry. The shorter, very good. I've given the wrong name. Hi, how are you? Hi, if you want to get a photo at the end, we can try and make that happen for you at the end of the session. Yeah? That's fine, that's fine. Good. 45 minutes, I think. Actually, 30 minutes. I'll give you... At the end. Yeah.
We'll see. Not now.
Take a seat.
It's happening now, but... Yeah, I'll grab you.
I got this one.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I think we had a very interesting session, the previous one, talking about generative AI. We're taking you to another level of generative AI. We'll talk about a very interesting industry, part of the Fintech, which is the INSURTECH. But let me give you some numbers before we start with our panelists. A report from McKinsey in June this year, had a very interesting insights about generative AI in different industries. It's saying the latest research estimates that generative AI could be equivalent to 2.6 trillion up to 4.4 trillion US dollars annually across 60 use cases in 21 industries. One of these is insurance. 75% of the value that generative AI use cases could deliver falls across 4 areas: customer operations, sales and marketing, software engineering, R&D. The 3 industries which is the most impacted ones will be banking, high tech, and life insurance. Banking on financial services and the social as well. So this one also has a good impact on INSURTECH. So talk about banking and life science. For insurance, total percentage of industry revenue impact is 1.8 to 2.8 percentage of revenue per yearly, which is 50 to 70 billion US dollars. So really the impact is big when it comes to generative AI in different industries, and I would say as the insurance is one of them. Now I will ask my panelists to introduce themselves from different disciplines, from insurance, from consulting, advisory companies, and so on, and then we'll take it forward. Feroz.
Thank you very much. Hello. Can you hear me?
Testing.
Testing. Okay, it's working now. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Thank you very much, Mohammad. Good to be here. First of all, big tip for the person who's running this panel: don't use McKinsey's data when a consultant is sitting here.
That's
right?
true.
Right?
Will you?
I will be happy to give you all the
next
data.
time.
I'll be happy to give you all the data. So use mine next time
Thank you.
if I'm sitting here. But
Thank
anyway, my name is Feroz Sanaulla. I'm a consultant. I'm a partner with Arthur D. Little. My focus is that I lead and head the technology and innovation business for ADL between Middle East and India. And really, the focus of our group is it's a functional practice that looks at all sectors and how technology is going to be disrupting changing, and creating issues for leadership, and what should they prepare for? So the most important thing is what should they prepare for, because the future comes closer and closer to them, but it's not here yet. The second thing is the concept of innovation. What does creativity mean? What will it mean in the midst of machine learning and AI? And how should they prepare themselves with the new workforce? So that's who I am. I'll pass it on to my colleagues, and then we'll get on with the show.
Thanks for that, and thank you for the introduction. I'm Peter Englund. I lead Zurich's commercial activities in the Middle East and Africa. For some of you who are new to the insurance market here in the UAE, there are roughly 62 companies, out of which 35 are national companies. And many of these would rely on the local reinsurance market, and that is the DIFC. So DIFC, the Dubai International Financial Center, turns around roughly $2 billion worth of premium every year. And this is where Zurich operate, and this is where my team and my business is. So in terms of INSURTECH, we focus a lot on new technology at Zurich in terms of how we transform operationally going forward. We spend a lot of money. We acquire businesses in this regard. And locally as well, in the DIFC, there's been a lot of leading both Fintech and INSURTECH work streams where we have been involved both as mentors and partners. So that's a bit about me.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, you can hear you.
Yes? Okay. So my name is Samyr Mezzour. I'm the Chief Venturing Officer of HITS. HITS stands for House of INSURTECH Switzerland, which is the innovation arm of Generali, one of the largest global insurance in the world that is headquartered in Italy. And what does HITS do? Actually, we work exclusively with startups to actually use their technology and provide innovation within Generali. So HITS is a Generali company, and what we are currently working on is definitely on generative AI, and see how generative AI can help across the insurance value chain, not only to, let's say, increase efficiency, but also to increase growth. Because most of the time, we tend to only work on efficiency and productivity, but we tend to also forget about how can we generate growth with technology, and specifically in this case, generative AI.
Thank you, Samyr. Thank you, everybody. Let me start with you, Feroz, and then you can correct the numbers as well. So, let us, look, at INSURTECH, insurance, and AI. How this conversion is happening. To give us, an overview and how this, conversion is happening between AI and insurance, and what is, the impact of this AI in general, and, generative AI in particular. Because generative AI is new too. So I think if we even take it to the wider topic, to AI, this might give us some, introduction to the topic.
So thank you for asking that question. So let me keep it at a slightly philosophical level. So insurance, in some ways, is a great equalizer, right? In the sense that if you were to normalize data of all of you today, I will tell you that some of you will fall sick, some of you will never fall sick, some of you will pass away. It's just the fact of life. And what I mean by the great equalizer is that insurance hardly ever discriminates on all of you. You still pay the same premium, you still ride the same insurance, et cetera, et cetera. Now imagine a world where I start knowing a lot more about you, a lot more. Yeah. And I realize that those 4 people are going to die, those people are going to go sick, and by the way, the rest of you are nothing going to happen. And I say, look, I'm going to price insurance at $0 for you. I'm going to charge $1,000 for them, and who the hell cares about them? They're going to die anyway. Is that the world we want to live in?
Yeah.
And that's the question that keeps coming to our minds, right? Insurance was a great equalizer. And now with AI and other tools, it is becoming a great predictor. And when it becomes a great predictor, I'm going to leave my experts here to talk a little bit about insurance as to how do they deal with that. Because if we were to go rewind our life back many, many years, the only reason insurance existed was in the days of sailing, whether a ship would meet the shore or not, right? That was the only reason. And Lloyd's came up with the fact that they put out people in the shores with telescopes, and they got information faster than their competitors, and they could price better. Now think of AI as your future telescope. what is life going to look like, right? So I'm going to leave it at that. I just wanted to kind of provoke you guys a little bit. But I think the experts here will talk a little bit about how they're dealing with it from their insurance domain perspective.
Thank you, Feroz. I think you're doing great. Thanks a lot. See, this will bring us here to, you talk about generative AI, AI itself, and all this kind of stuff. We have great reports from all consulting firms, use cases, as even I mentioned, and so on. But what is the real examples? Can you give us, from your own expertise, either existing, real cases or future real cases which you can see generative AI and AI will play a good role in efficiencies, in customer experience, and so on? Peter, and then Samyr, please.
Happy to go first. And Feroz, you're absolutely right. I think we should address the ethical sort of considerations that come with this. I completely agree with you. In terms of real example, what we've seen lately, and especially also when you study the sort of the fintech work streams, is that there has been a lot of focus on the front end, sort of the customer-facing bit of AI. So for instance, Lemonade's Maya is a good example, where chatbots, you will get an immediate response as a client. We see benefits along claims processing as well, where you can use image recovery to speed up processes. So I see that these are some good examples. I think you have to look at then, as you alluded to with life insurance potentially, there are the usage is quite different if you look at sort of from segment to segment, right? In the large corporate space, AI is could give us great benefits. For instance, when he's analyzing natural catastrophes and cat exposures, that involves looking at huge data sets, right, on the risk assessment side. And here I can see that AI can make a difference and be beneficial to us.
That's a good point. So you mean the front end could be replaced by AI to a big extent because of the data, the recognitions, many things really you can do on the front end using AI tools in hologram and all of the stuff I think can help big time.
Absolutely. I look at that at the sort of the next phase of INSURTECH is that you will look more on the nuts and bolts of both the under insurance in terms of policy and claims administration systems, but also on the risk assessment side as I alluded to. And rest assured that this is a multi-trillion US dollar industry globally, so there's a lot of value to be added.
But the same will come to you, Samyr, as well. What about the human intuition here? Everything will go, because sometimes even people deal with a chatbot or whatever. Oh, is it a man or a person? Is there anything human has to take as well, or everything will be like you talk to a robot and to a machine all the time? The human intuition is still, how do you find it here? What is the role of human intuition in this process?
If I may, I'm happy to continue. So, yeah, I do believe that potentially in the large complex and reinsurance space, we are dealing with big programs. While AI can really give you a significant benefit in terms of analyzing all the data. For instance, when a client, take a local client like Emar is being underwritten, say on the property side, a global insurer might have up to 13, 14 system that we may use in trying to come up with an appropriate sort of terms and conditions and price for our client. And here I think that, again, that AI can make a difference. However, when it comes to these complex cases, when it comes to analyzing the data, then I do believe that humans still have a significant role to play.
Okay, so we have to tell people, yes, I think someone in the last panel said, yes, it will replace your job. Really not always. I think the net, I need to add as well, I think some studies saying the net job creation will be more than what will be lost. So we shouldn't say, I think the human will be there and it's needed all the time. Samyr, the same question for you, please. You are the house of INSURTECH. So I think we talk about the innovation come from your side. You deal with different companies, different insurance, different INSURTECHs and so on. So what is the use cases really you can see it in the future for AI and generative AI in particular? And what about the human intuition? This is really very important. It's the core of our discussion today.
So we're talking already about the future, not about today.
I have to be fair, because generative AI, we have it since less than a year, which become really a vibe or a hype, whatever. So if I ask you what's happening now today, I think there is something will happen in the future more than today.
Oh, yes.
Maybe there's something happening today, but it will be more than the AI side. but I think we need to talk about today and the future as well.
Okay, so I'll give you both.
Both.
Okay, so both. So let's start, okay, with, let's say, the low-hanging fruit. So what is possible today, and what can you deliver as fast as possible today? So I think a month ago, Generali released its first, let's say, ChatGPT-based chatbot. So whenever you go to the website of Generali, so Generali Switzerland, in that case, well, usually, I don't know, you want to buy a pet insurance, so you need to get to the homepage, search for, okay, this is a pet insurance, so that would be under personal lines, and then, so you need to click like 3-4 times to get to the information that you want. But now, we have this ChatGPT enhanced bot, where you can ask the question directly, I'm interested in a pet insurance, I would like to know what is covered. And then, you get the answer to what is covered. Okay, this is interesting, but what is not covered? And then you have a conversation. So you start a conversation, and the objective, the main objective, is at the end that you get, well, to click the button, okay, buy that pet insurance. So that kind of interactions is possible today. This has been done in few months.
Yeah.
And it's not replacing the website, it's just, okay, putting the website to the next level. Now, and the next project that we are currently working on is a knowledge assistant. So we are sitting in a pile of data, PDFs, Word documents, emails, and so on and so forth. Instead of you searching for key information that you are searching, you can ask the bot, okay, how many startups have we been speaking with around the claims processing in the past 6 months? Okay. And in seconds, you get that answer, instead of you doing an analysis on Excel or searching for emails and counting the number of startups and so on and so forth. So, okay, I could go on and on and on all these kind of low-hanging fruits, but now the future. So the future, the way I see it is, maybe on a show of hands, how many of you have seen the movie Her? Okay, so a handful. So this is the movie where, actually with Joaquin Phoenix, where he falls in love with a bot. And the voice of the bot is Scarlett Johansson.
Okay.
And she collects all the data about him so that they have not only, I mean, she's the assistant, like Siri, but on steroids, but she's funny, she's loving, and so on and so forth. And by the way, this is not science fiction. I think there was like 4,000 marriages, so weddings, between a human and a bot.
I think here there is some issue about women here. They're gonna object. You know, like it's interesting.
So, is this the future? Okay, I'm wishing, not really, but the future that I'm wishing is each one of us will have an AI assistant that is bespoke to each one of us, provided that data privacy is given, because we don't want a bot or a big tech knowing everything, all our secrets, okay, about us. So maybe the future of blockchain needs to be merging with
That's
AI
true.
to guarantee the data privacy. But I would love to have someone with whom I could interact and providing me with answers, lifelike answers on any question that I have. And really, through a sentence, I could say, okay, I'm seeing an ad on YouTube, and I would say, okay, assistant, buy this thing for me, because I like this object. Or buy this insurance for me because I want to be protected or covered. And that would have, that generative AI would be connected to my bank account. You would then try to connect to that insurance and then do the purchase imminently.
Okay, that's great. This is the world of getting connected all together. We talk it open in other places, open finance, embedded insurance. And I think Eddie Little, they have good papers about this embedded finance and insurance. That's great. Thanks a lot. You know, Feroz, come back. You know, we know that people are worried, not worried, that people are concerned about the skill sets, what will be disappearing, what is there. So for insurance, INSURTECH, in the era of generative AI, deep learning, and what is the skill sets which you can see it will be required, and how can we develop these skill sets and so on, and which one we have to forget about it, and the insurance guys should think beyond it. So, you're really
good. So actually, let me start with a preface first.
and then we'll talk about the skill sets that are needed, right? So in our world, in the insurance world that we're talking about, and I think, Peter, you talked a little bit about the first box. So I'm a consultant, so I'll put in 3 boxes, right? Box number 1 is the box that you talked about. Better efficiency, better customer centricity, focusing on making sure that things are faster, cheaper. That's the first part. And AI does a lot for that because it can predict things, it can read things, etc. And whether you do it through large language models or some sort of a machine learning construct, I don't really care, but it really does solve that problem. The second problem is the concept of intuition that you brought up, right? Now, the question is, how does this data set then start moving into the world of intuition, where human beings are probably more supreme because we are essentially pattern recognition devices in our own right? And then the last stuff is the ethical constraints, which we talked about, where I don't believe AI should go, right? I'm a true believer that we should not touch that part, because that can create lots and lots of problems for us. So if we look at those 3 things, everything is underpinned with data, right? And the amazing part of our life is that there's more and more data being collected all the time, right? Now the question is, if you have so much data, right, how do you make sure that that's good data? Or is it bad data? Right? So if you can look at it from that perspective, good data can help you with a lot of your intuition. It can be an assistant, it could be a Siri, it could be whatever. Bad data, unfortunately, can hallucinate. And we know that ChatGPT sometimes does hallucinate and give you all kinds of erroneous answers because it's a creative, kind of language-based creative world. And creativity is nothing but the bridge between the two, from intuition to hallucination, because that's what creativity is. We create something, it's completely out of this world, and then we make it happen as human beings. So I think the near future, in my opinion, from a skill set perspective, is to be able to have good reasoning capability, good data analytical capability, and be able to do a bit of coding, right? I would say those are the 3 things that I feel that people should start learning about. Now, if I look back at my life, I'm probably good at the first one. That's why I sit where I sit. I'm somewhat good at the next one, but I'm horrible at the third one. And that's something I'll have to learn, because otherwise, I won't be here. There could be an AI bot here talking to you. So that's really what's happening in the world, and I think, hopefully life gets a little bit better, and happy to hear from you, Peter.
No, I think
if I can add maybe just to what Feroz said, so I would add another element is actually the capability to start thinking across your own pond. So we are in the insurance business, but you can reuse something that has been done in another industry and start cross-fertilizing industries. So because you might have, best practices coming from the aeronautics, from culinary, from traveling, that actually you could rethink and repurpose for insurance.
Call it convergence, by the way, right? It's called convergence.
Divergence.
It's convergence, yeah.
So, yeah, and actually with using Gen AI, so actually, as a human being, let's say, augmented with Gen AI, you could ask, okay, what kind of industry, I have this problem with insurance, what can I use from other industry that could be beneficial in solving my issue within insurance? So we have now the ability to receive answers in seconds by using this kind of cross-pollination opportunities or cross-fertilizations.
Thanks a lot. I think it's very important to know, as you said, as well, and what you will do and what bots and other things can help you with. So like, I hear a comment from one lady from the World Economic Forum 2 years back when they were asking, what did you learn, what's new? She said, the most important thing, you have to learn how to learn. So I think this is what we are in today. With all these technologies around, what we should do as human, what is this technology can do for us, then the skill set, analytical, data science, and all these kind of things, we need to grow more than the tech part. The tech part, as Feroz said, the coding. Everything today, you do a code, and this code or algorithm itself, it has its own people to develop. but you have some analytical skills which is really can help in this one. Thanks a lot. I think it does make big sense. Now, Peter, we'll go for the risk assessment, and underwriting. I think this is a very important part in insurance. You say it like commercial, consumer and all, where generative AI and AI can help, any use cases, anything you can give in mind on the, and the underwriting and the risk assessment for insurance.
Yeah, as I said, once the data sets start becoming vast, as they will do, say, for instance, when renewing a large property program, right? And take a client, again, as I said, local client like Amar, when you have a lot of data and to review, and you are considering sort of things like nat cat exposures, I think that AI can have a very important role to play. The other item worth noting for international insurers, right? So, say for instance, I used MR as an example. If you issue an insurance program for MR, and then assuming that they have subsidiaries all over the world, they would have maybe up to 50 local policies attached to a master policy. And their issues then for an insurer and a reinsurer, issues like wording control becomes quite significant. And here I also see that technology can serve, and even things like blockchain can make sure that the local policy was mastered, say a master contract one-to-one, in a more efficient way. So there are a lot of other areas as well where I think that where exposures are evolving fast, creating a very critical concern for many insurers who wants to stay on top of this development. Cyber insurance and cyber exposure is one of them where I think that's worth looking at. The other thing, and coming back to the ethical consideration, and I do believe that, and I mentioned a rising amount of weather-related catastrophic losses on a yearly basis now these days, and obviously one driver proven by science would be climate change and global warming.
Yeah.
And I think, noting that, I see a scenario as well where we need to work where insurance companies and global leaders will become more value-based. So they need to understand what they stand for in this regard. This way will lead to a lot of difficult consideration. I think AI can assist, but also believe that human intuition in this sense, has a role to play.
Great, thanks. I think you talk about technologies like blockchain and others, and I think this is a great thing that you need to merge or marry few technologies around, which can bring the bigger value here. It's not only AI, generative AI, blockchain and others, IoT and others. You bring them all together with the risk assessment, underwriting and others. I think here you can get a big value.
But I mean, look, I have some serious concerns about this. And I mean, I'll give you an example. If weather predictability becomes more and more accurate, nothing in Miami will ever get insured by an insurer, right? Because the next hurricane that comes in will blow your house away. If the temperature rises by another 3 or 4 degrees in Dubai, nobody will insure anything in Dubai because the buildings are going to come crumbling down. This is the world we live in. So the question is, do we go to that depth of using data, or do we create some sort of an equalization that allows everyone to distribute that risk? And that's really what it is all about, right? Distribution of that risk rather than purely concentrating that risk in a community or in communities. Look, it's a philosophical discussion because we're not there yet. But sooner or later we will get there, right?
Thank you. Samyr, you have, or Peter, you have this is a very important point, really. So.
No, yes, absolutely, I agree. I share your concern about some of the U.S. states at this point in time. I think the simple answer is sometimes it's easy to point fingers in life, but sometimes when we do, there are 2 fingers pointing back at you. And I think for some of these, I mentioned the rising, the cat losses. Cyber is another good example where I do believe we need to collaborate, as you say, and everyone has a role to play. Regulators have a role to play. Insurance companies and reinsurers have a role to play, and the greater public to some extent as well. Jointly, we can then come up with product that's worthwhile and that add value to our clients.
So if I may add, okay, what Feroz said, So I don't know if you're aware, but recently insurers in the US, for example, in California, I think it's State Farm, that is not insuring any wildfires anymore because the frequency is increasing. So the more wildfires, okay, you get, okay, then the concept of insurance, okay, is not working because there are too many wildfires. In Florida, there are an increasing frequency of hurricanes. So you have insurers, okay, withdrawing from insuring, okay, hurricane damages. And so this is, okay, how it works in the US. In Switzerland, by law, an insurer cannot withdraw from natural catastrophes because there is a big pool. So if there is a natural catastrophes, all the insurers need to chip in to pay for the damages. They cannot just withdraw from wildfires or things. So that's why. So even if we get into a large amount of data, hopefully the regulator or the states will have enough power to force insurers to say, guys, you need to chip in. We, the states, will chip in, but you need to chip in as well.
And representing, with the risk of maybe sounding defensive, but I represent the industry as well to just get some data when it comes to these cat losses on the table, that last year, even if you're looking at a year with 330 billion worth of economic losses, the industry will still pick up roughly 135 billion of these, right? So that's, we know. Now, that's bigger than what it used to be in the past, and yes, there is a protection gap, and we need to close that gap, but I still think that the industry at large is still contributing.
So we'll never be in 100%, still force majeure there, in any policy. So let us go back, Samyr, is something which is, the data privacy, the ethical use, I think we discussed, but it's very, where here, we can, ensure that INSURTECH and companies in insurance have a fair use of technology and protecting the consumer. We have GDPR in Europe, yes, but we're talking about more because there is more stuff happening using AI-driven application and INSURTECH. So how can we, manage this one from an INSURTECH point of view, regulators and so on, to manage the risk, and the data privacy and the, ethical use of, AI?
So I'm happy to see that, okay, the regulation is moving forward because GDPR was a first step, but it was not enough.
Yes.
Why? Because the big techs paid GDPR fines because they violated, okay, many times GDPR rules. So just rapidly, the podium of GDPR fines is number 3 is, we're talking about the EU, so violation within the EU. So Google with 200 million paying GDPR fines. Number 2 is Amazon with 750 million paying GDPR fines. GDPR exists only since 2018. And the gold medal, anyone wants to guess? Okay, who has the gold medal of GDPR fines? Meta, with 1.5 billion. And 1.5 billion, when you are doing a quarterly, profit of 5 billion,
yeah,
it's nothing. It's 1.5 billion since 2018.
Okay.
It's pocket money for them.
Yeah.
So you need to continue to improve the regulation and protect, okay, the people. So now you have the EU AI Act that will be passed by the end of the year, but enacted in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Where then, okay, you have different categories of risks.
True.
So, for example, what Feroz was saying, say, if we have data, at your level, at the individual level, and we know everything, well, basically, this is profiling. And profiling is, in the classification of the EU AI Act, is not an unacceptable risk. Unacceptable risk is like the highest risk, okay, that's what the EU AI Act, okay, gives. This is like facial recognition, another one is like manipulating you when you want to vote, for example.
Yeah.
But profiling is the second category, which is the high risk. And for that, I'm working with the data protection officers of Generali to understand, okay, what can we do? What are the use cases we can do in terms of marketing, in terms of sales? And profiling comes always on it. So you need to find a way of not profiling people.
Yes.
To have a segment like according to GDPR, I think that the smallest segment that you can have is a group of 5.
Okay.
So you can be compliant and still conduct some marketing or sales use cases. But when you start a project, always starts by asking your DPO, your data protection officer, instead of asking him or her at the end, because you'll be smashed otherwise.
Thank you. I think it's luckily we have, even in our region, there is lots of regulation happening around data privacy here in Saudi and others. So I think the AI Act, the European AI Act, is very important, and I get to know there is something happening as well here, the ethical use of AI. So I think everybody is being driven to make sure that this is really part of any development, because innovation is going, I think we are going a big way using AI and others. But I think, yes, to come the privacy is a very important part. Now, Feroz, we go back, insurance industry are really, has a big part of it, brokers, intermediary. So you have many of these, I see even the health insurance, I see a company, another company, I get sometimes confused, So how these people will be stay relevant, and what is the role with the AI, using blockchain, which is supposed to move the intermediary, and all of these technologies? How do you find the broker or the agent role in the new future of INSURTECH and insurance?
I mean, I personally, I think it's the end of the road for a lot of them, right? Because the reality is that brokering is a form of distribution of the product, right?
Yes.
It's some form of distribution of the product. And if the insurance company can come closer to the consumer, and the closer and closer they come, the need for intermediaries goes down in general, right? So that's really how it works. Now, there are certain values that a broker can provide, which can then enhance their longevity, let's call it that way.
Yeah.
Whether it's through comparison, whether it's through tailoring, whether it's to doing a little bit more work to ensure that there's customization, et cetera, which is the tailoring aspect. Then, of course, there's some value add. But in any value chain, right, you need to pluck out dead wood, right? And the reality of it is, in any value chain, it doesn't matter if it's insurance or anything else, over time, technology will displace them. It's just a matter of time. I don't know how you see it in Zurich and others, but I feel that large companies like Zurich sometimes don't really want to take the pain of going all the way down to the consumer level, right?
Yeah.
They like to stay at a higher level, which is fine. But if you really want to go down lower and lower, you will start displacing some of your brokers, just in inevitability.
Okay, thank you. May I have your feedback? This is very important, really, from your point of view.
It's a fair comment, and the way I look at it, again, I do the separation. I say separate the retail segments from the large corporate ones. And as you say, you alluded to some of the need where you saw in terms of tailoring, in terms of having additional leverage in a purchasing process, in terms of maintaining neutrality in a given tender. And also I do believe that what I see is, once these programs become very complex, there is a need for human interaction, and there is a need for someone who will oversee a given relationship. I take your point on the retail segment, and this is what we're seeing, I believe, to some extent with the chatbots in the large corporate and on the more complex risks, and where we are dealing with significant limits of liability, and when the programs grow very very big, I do believe that a broker has a role to play.
Thank you.
So,
from your INSURTECH business and people, how do you see? Do you feel INSURTECH coming in the middle, or this is gone already?
sorry?
Do you see that some INSURTECHs might still trying to work in the middle between insurance and the customer from an INSURTECH point of view? Do you find any of these use cases, or this is not there anymore, being a broker or an agent or a middleman?
Or just becoming a balance sheet at the end.
Yeah.
So basically, and you lose, the whole customer interaction, because you have an INSURTECH that is doing the job better, faster, and actually, responding to the needs of the policyholder. So this is the risk. If you don't do anything, at the end, the legacy insurers might just become a big balance sheet that will pay the claims.
Yeah.
but you lose all the customer interactions. So this is the big risk. But we need to go at the same pace of INSURTECHs. It is difficult for a large corporate, but that's why, I mean, this is my job to bring all these kind of INSURTECHs to work with the mothership that is a heavy tanker, but also create speedboats on the side and bring this pace and speed to a big Generali in order to avoid this kind of a disruption and being not facing the customer anymore.
But I think this as well will need the consumer to be well educated, awareness using the digital platform. I think it's a different discussion because now I think we use it here, you know, because sometimes the consumer themselves, they are not very much into 100% digital journey. And then I think the brokerage sometimes come in place or someone to support. I think even there is some countries, you have the digital brokerage license from some, you know, regulators. So I think maybe the hybrid model will be there for a while, till maybe 10 years from now or whatever number of years. We're going to see really the digital prevailing and then this guy is coming out of the picture, hopefully. Maybe. It's a thought, yeah.
But my view is that with AI,
Yes.
you not only do you eliminate the broker,
Yes.
you eliminate yourself.
That's a
right?
good point.
And that's the most important thing to understand, that why do I have to make a choice on my insurance when my AI can do a better job at insuring me? Right?
That's good point.
There's this innate thinking, and by the way, I am in the same world. Right? I divide people into corporate and retail. And I'm just thinking, does the retail even need to make any decisions on insurance? Or should there be a bot that does it for them? Because that bot probably knows you better and knows your profile better. So I think there need to be two people pulled out of the value chain, the broker and the decider.
That's very interesting.
That's my last words.
This is the last word.
I'll let these guys talk.
Thank you so much for your great insights.
Thank you.
If anybody has a question, otherwise we can wrap up. Thank you really. Thank you very much for the great.
Maybe I can briefly ask a question to the audience. Maybe, how many of you actually use a Gen AI like a ChatGPT or Llama? Just okay. How many of you never used it?
The rest, they will not say.
And how many of you use it daily? Okay, so we're getting always. So I encourage the others to start using it daily to realize the benefits and the opportunities that actually it unlocks.
Thank you so much. Join me to thank my panelists, please. I have my pleasure. I have one. Guys, we need to be in touch. We are trying to do something.